But it's a very special Boiz Chat because I'm holding down the fort. Unfortunately, both Ryans are out today for different reasons. So it's just me. And you know, I can't help it. I just can't help it if I'm the only dedicated one in the Boiz Chat. Not Jordan's Brew. Oh, I forgot about Jordan's Brew. Our friend gave us some custom, like homemade kombucha, so I'll drink that maybe on Tuesday. Forgot about it. I already cracked this one, and mango's one of my favorites. So, oh yeah. Give a second for everyone to come in. Oh, but looks like we got 30 people in already. That's pretty quick. Nice. What a gem, indeed. Today on the Boiz Chat, we have the guys from Parallel. We have Merchant and Mr. Gone, both chatting with us about what their project entails. It's a card game. It sounds to be a mix between Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering, but on the blockchain, all through NFTs. And they have some super interesting mechanics, so I'm excited to hear what they have to say. I've played Magic the Gathering a fair amount. I wouldn't say I'm hardcore, and I played Hearthstone a fair amount too. So I think we're all on the same page, right? That games and NFTs are the perfect pair, the perfect combination. And some of the mechanics and some of the ways that these guys have planned out seem super interesting. And so I'm excited to talk to them about it. Today is the first drop. I believe it's at 5 EST, which is 2 PST. So we're going to talk about that, talk about how things are going, talk about the future, all sorts of stuff, because it's an interesting project. Yeah, guys, let's not ado any further. Let's not bury the lead. Let's get right into it. Cue round of applause. Cue scene change. Cue undeafen.
Present good, you know.
Hey guys.
Right. Hey.
we're on. How are you?
Hello. I'm good.
Good. Mr. Gone, you doing well?
I'm doing okay, yeah. Thanks for asking.
Good. Oh, it's a busy day for you guys, isn't it?
Oh man, yeah.
You could put it that way, yeah.
The apocalypse.
Although actually, I was just saying this to Koji, like, the crazy thing for me is, like, most of my work for this, pretty much all my work for this was finished, like, last night.
Okay.
And today's been, like, weirdly smooth sailing. I kind of just get to sit back and watch the carnage, which is kind of fun. But
That's always a good position to be in, I think.
yeah, not so much for Koji, but
Yeah. What's your job, Koji?
I herd cats for a living, basically.
Okay. Project
no,
manager?
Yeah, well, yeah, so that is my professional background generally is project manager. So I can't help but seep into everything I do, including this project. I mean, I'm I guess, for lack of a better term, the chief games officer. But really, there's a core group of us that work together to bring the game to life. You know, figure out all the mechanics and the rules and stuff. And Merchant here is our backbone.
Okay.
that's a nice way of putting it. But yeah, I mean, from my perspective, Koji is, having worked, you know, in the industry a little bit before. It's interesting because we're a small team, so like I know it sounds like something that's kind of like put out there as PR, but it's true that very collaborative process. Obviously, you know, we all chat about everything pretty much when it comes to working on the game. I'd say Koji's pretty much like a producer, though, in a way.
Okay.
I think that's kind of the main duty we have going on. He does herd cats, literally. But, yeah, and I guess I suppose like the lead game designer in that essence. Most of my work is primarily on what you will experience in the game client, even of Parallel, once that's available to people. So
awesome. That sounds like we got two important guys right here.
Maybe one day.
I
want to, on one hand, be a cat herder, because it just sounds cool. But on the other hand, thinking about what it entails probably sounds like the worst thing you could imagine, especially when it comes to crunch time. But
I mean, there's always challenges to all of it, but at the end of the day, we're working on a game, so it could be a lot worse, right?
For sure.
Yeah, it's been fun the whole way.
Yeah, that's kind of our mantra. Like, obviously, there's stressful times, and there's times when we have huge amounts to do and not very long to do them. But at the end of the day, look, we're lucky that we all really get on. We chat as friends and we work together, and we're just massively lucky to be working on something that's pretty much a dream project. For at least I can speak for the design team, for the three of us involved. It's very little I'd rather be doing, really.
That's great, and it's an exciting space too, right? Like, it's kind of on the forefront. Not only are you making a game that's breaking grounds. I've heard about some of the mechanics you guys are doing that we'll get into further, but you're also on the blockchain, which is also a whole nother thing. And speaking of all that, let's get like an overview for anyone tuning in who hasn't heard about Parallel, doesn't know what it is. What's the short and dirty of what you guys are doing?
Okay, so let's see if I can hone my inner pitch meeting self here. And
just imagine 75 people in an elevator, all naked, because that'll make you less nervous, and then pitch.
Yeah, luckily I don't get that nervous because I used to play in a rock band, and I'm used to doing dumb stuff on stage in front of people, so I'm no problems. But essentially what we've tried to do is from my perspective anyway, is we're leveraging the NFT and blockchain technology to sort of bring back the experience of one of my favorite things. Let me rewind for a second. One of my favorite things in the world when I was a kid was to go into a comic store or a collectible store and just look in the Magic glass case and be like, I want that card, and I want that card, and I want that card. Yeah. And what I want to do is kind of bring that feeling back, but in the digital space, because a lot of other games, which I love, by the way, MTG and Hearthstone, it almost feels like you're leasing the resources, like you're buying packs and you're getting cards, but once you have them, if you don't need them or you wanted to trade them or sell them or whatever, you're out of luck. And so what we're trying to do is to make those resources tradable, sellable, etc. But we're also trying to progress the game a little bit too. So, in Magic, they're the granddaddy. They came up with most of the fun stuff that we do today. But a big problem was
playing blue decks.
My favorite. But one of the biggest problems was either getting mana flooded or mana starved, and then you can't really plan ahead too well. And then Hearthstone kind of iterated on that, and they said, okay, you know what, we'll give you 1 mana a turn, and that way okay, on turn 3 I can play a 3-cost card, at least by turn 3. So there was some certainty built in, and so we're trying to take that a step further. And make it slightly more cerebral so that your mana pool isn't just like a stagnant pool. It's in flux. It'll go up and down. Potentially, there's information that can be revealed from the mana pool, which we call the bank. And any of your cards in your deck can actually be used as mana. So you actually are immediately put to a choice where you have to decide, okay, am I going to use this card for its intended purpose, or am I going to bank this card for mana? And then how much information does this card give away if it gets revealed? And there's levels upon levels upon levels. And I think maybe Merchant can take over from there if he has anything else to say.
Yeah, I think just touching on the banking stuff, it's really interesting because it adds essentially like modal decision making to every single turn. Even very simple things like at the start of a game, it's like, say you start the game, you draw your opening hand, and you have a high cost card in there. You immediately face the decision of like, well, it makes more sense to bank this early on because I'm not going to be able to play it for a while. But, if I do manage to ramp up smoothly otherwise, this is a great card to have in hand. Yeah. So just introducing that layer of decision making into a system which traditionally I would say is something that the CCG genre has suffered from is a really interesting prospect, because instantly, in Magic, it's too random. The land system is just miserable. I think most people would agree that. Yeah. Without even getting into the things like, like land prices as well for formats. But land system is kind of miserable. And then in Hearthstone, I'd almost make an argument that it's too much the other way, where it's so automated that quite often you find Hearthstone being referred to as Curvestone, because it's like, well, you just play your max mana card each turn, more or less, right? So yeah, I think it's really interesting to be kind of pushing the envelope in that regard. And then, of course, we have the whole trading and collectability side that Koji touched on, which is really, really fantastic. And it's like, we're very open about this. It's something that, we've said from day one of me joining, at least. If you don't want to engage with this side of things, you don't have to. If you do want to engage with Parallel like it's a traditional digital card game, that option will be there for you. We're not going to punish you for doing that, but it's more about the potential of what we can do, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes to digital collectability and trading, yeah, you can just bring back that feeling of being proud of the cards you own. Whereas, because I think one thing that's really interesting is in Magic Arena or Hearthstone or something, like you open a card, and I almost feel like instead of excitement, you sometimes just feel relief that you have to stop grinding to get that particular card.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you're taking part in the trading and the collectability, if you open an exciting card, even if it's not to your taste or what you want at the moment, it's still an exciting moment for you because you're going to be able to trade that. You're going to be able to convert that to cards you do want.
Yeah.
And bringing back, it's so interesting because it's bringing back the spirit of the mid 90s in a way, with your cards actually being possessions that you can trade, you can convert, etc. So yeah.
Well, and all that mixed with there's so much to unpack there because I think you guys are doing incredible stuff. I'm super excited about it. Exactly what you're saying is where you can own it, but having it be an NFT also injects kind of a speculative market into it as well that adds some interesting dynamics to owning those cards. So even if you pull something like if you're running like a red deck or in like Magic, or I don't know all of your guys' factions offhand. But if you're running like an aggressive deck and then you pull something that's super defensive or super like regenerative or ramp focused, then usually you're like, okay, well, I can dust it in Hearthstone for like a penny, or
very punitive.
Yeah, or in Magic Arena, like you can't do anything with it. You just kind of like sit on it, or I think their dusting's even less valuable. But then
there is no dusting in Arena.
Oh, it's just the chest, right?
System, which is the vault. So there's a wildcard system, which basically means for X number of packs you open, you get a wild card, right? Like a Joker that you can turn into any card of equivalent rarity. But there is no dusting. Like you open a mythic you don't like in Arena,
you're just out of luck.
Fun.
Yeah, that's terrible. But you guys doing what you're doing sounds like you can at least put it up on the market, and there's going to be someone who wants to run that deck with that card most likely. So kind of like you said, bringing the paper back into it. And I think
absolutely, it's something that's really interesting. Card game players will be quite experienced, physical card game players. This isn't something new to them, but I think it is something that's pretty new to really see digitized fully. Magic, the funny thing is the only game that kind of comparatively does it in a big scale as to what we're talking about is Modo, or Magic Online, which is the late 90s, early 2000s Magic Online client, which is still used today by a lot of Magic players, which does have like card ownership and stuff, but it's quite a closed system. And basically what we're able to do, utilizing blockchain and whatnot, is take something that would typically only work as a closed system and open it up. Like if you open an exciting card and you want to sell it, and the point is it shouldn't be up to us to dictate what you do with that gain, right? Like you can withdraw it, do whatever you want with it.
Yeah,
for sure. And I think that it's also important to note that there's going to be people out there who are just interested in collecting. Like as a kid, I was really big into collecting Marvel based cards, and there was no game associated. I was just like, I need to get all these Marvel cards, right? And so there might be people who find enjoyment in collecting certain parallel cards. And so we don't want to, limit it in any way. People can own it however they see fit.
Absolutely. And to the polar opposite, if you just want to play an awesome card game, like we're here to cater for that too. Like,
for sure.
One of the things that we are so set on doing, and I know obviously because we're so early and because we're releasing all these awesome, exciting, rare versions of cards and stuff, and the packs today, everything is very kind of collection skewed right now, mostly. But yeah, like one thing that we're just so set on is we want you to enjoy Parallel however you want to enjoy it. And if you want to grind, as a player and not engage with any of that, go ahead. If you just want to collect awesome looking cards, that's an option for you too. So Yeah, no one player parallel is lesser to a different kind of player to us, really.
Mm-hmm. It does sound like you guys are setting up a very flexible system, and also with the mana, circling back to that, it really made me think that I liked, when I played Magic, I like to build awful decks, like just homebrew the worst decks and see what would come out. I built like a Chromium deck, and it just was it was impossible to ever get Chromium out. But when I did, it was the best thing of all time. But
yeah, I built a career on doing that.
perfect. Yeah, because you've got a great YouTube channel. It's funny. I looked up your Twitter today, and in preparation for this, I'm like, oh, I've watched Merchant's videos. Like so that was kind of fun. But the flexibility, the flexibility in the mana system, I guess, is what I was getting at. Where it's like, that seems like it would open up more homebrewing, because you can you can really choose whether or not you want to keep your bombs in the deck, or if you can put them in for mana.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And when we don't have a land system, that opens up a lot more space in your deck, fundamentally. I mean, we have 40 card decks, and there's a lot of space for creativity in those. And the nice thing with how the banking system works is you can create, this is getting into really sort of design heavy terms, but you can create multiple critical paths within a deck, i.e. ways of winning in a single deck. Because if one of them isn't working out, then you'll just prioritize banking the cards of that certain path.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good system for decision making in a card game, genuinely, which is everything, because in a card games are such a fascinating genre to design, right? Because it's not like we're creating an FPS, and it's like, okay, well, the thing that will matter the most ever is how good you are with a mouse and keyboard, right? Like, I'm starting to gray now in my late 20s, which is another point, but I'm starting to gray now. But like, if I go and play Counter-Strike against somebody who's never played it now, like those thousands of hours of my teenage years will pay off, and I'll just destroy them, right?
Yeah.
But in a card game, you don't have that like mechanical gap. Everybody is mechanically on the same level, which means it's all decision making. So the more you can enforce decision making as a core aspect of the game and take away like a loss of control and give players agency, the better. And the beautiful thing is striking that balance between chaos is fun, but decision making is what really drives the heart of a card game. So yeah.
That's beautifully succinct. I think that's the core of it, and I think that's what you get when you bring on someone like yourself, who is playing Magic day in and day out as a career into making a new game. You have all these nuances that you pull, and it gives me a lot of faith that it's going to be a super fun game.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I have just like accidentally a really interesting background in this, I guess, because I worked on a card game in the industry before I did YouTube as well, and MMOs and stuff. So yeah, I love telling this bit because it's so silly. I took a hiatus from YouTube intending to take like 1 or 2 years off and like experiment with writing, make some personal projects game wise, and have a bit of fun and just relax. And then this guy's like, hey, you wanna come work on a game? And I'm like, that like meme of San Andreas where it's like, oh shit, here we go again.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally just that.
Like, they pulled me right back in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. He can never escape. He can never escape.
I don't know how to say no. That's the problem.
No.
No, it's awesome though. It came along at exactly the right time in my like personal life, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's great.
Very exciting.
And I think it looks great too. I don't want to gloss over that, speaking about mechanics and all this stuff. The mechanics are obviously what's going to drive it, but you're talking about Magic Online, and it looks like a Minesweeper mod, and it's like the hardest thing to get around and understand. But
I mean, there's just a joke that you're opening Excel when you start playing Magic Online.
it does feel like that.
Yeah.
And the mechanics are all there. The game's fun, but it's a pain to look at. But your guys' stuff looks fantastic.
I mean, all credit to Nacho, Oscar, and Oscar for putting out some incredible art. I think that we just need to give them all the love in the world, because up to this point, there's a lot of us speaking about what the game will be like, but really, the first thing people see is their art. And if it wasn't good, you know, we wouldn't have gotten any attention whatsoever. And clearly it's incredible. So, I mean, I don't want to I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just going to pat them on the back here. But, you know, they've done an incredible job at reeling people in and showing them what a sci-fi world can look like.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And they're such a absolutely lovely bunch to work with as well. Like they're really cool guys, super talented. You know, we are very, very fortunate to have them because, as Koji says, I'm gonna be blunt. Like, look, I didn't know that much about NFTs and stuff before getting into working on Parallel, and I sort of obviously did my homework before agreeing to anything. And our level of art is AAA game standard, and I think that's something that a lot of NFT projects cannot lay claim to. So,
For sure.
But I think we can. Yeah, I mean, look, we're just. This is one of the great pleasures of the job, right? Because we get to give some form of direction to these incredibly talented people who then go forth and make, like Koji says, realistically, the vast majority of what Parallel is right now is their work. And we owe, and we'll always owe a huge amount to them in the success of the game.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth noting that a lot of what comes out, like we give suggestions on what we think the card might be, or we set it up and say, okay, you know, this card, this is its function in the game, and here's its place in the story. But more than that, we don't really give them any like straight direction. You know, typically when you make a game, you're like, okay, I want a gun, I want it to be silver, I want it to have a long barrel, I want it to do X, Y, Z, whatever. But we don't do that. We just say, okay, here are the ideas, show us what's in your head. And that's what they throw out onto the cards. So, you know, this is what happens when you let creatives run wild, I guess.
That's what I was just gonna say. That's like, you guys sound like the dream client. It's like, because you always get the best stuff when you let someone who's an expert at what they do what they do. And the amount of times that I've done a art piece or a logo or anything creative, and then the clients come in and said, given round after round of revision, and it just degrades over time, and you can just feel it in your bones, the anger rising up. So I think it shines through with how the cards look for you guys. It's clear that you let them run wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing is there's no real like ego involved with it either. It's not like they're saying, you know, give us a name and we'll create a random image for you. It's this awesome process where we're constantly talking, you know, looking at sketches and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, like I say, we're just so lucky that they're so talented that there isn't even any call to be like, no, do this instead. Like they're just awesome. They smash it every time.
That's great. Do you guys have any collabs in mind in the future, or is that something, because I know Magic is known for its card art, right? And it seems to me, looking at your guys' stuff, it's like Magic's very illustrative, but yours is very 3D render oriented and very, you know, futuristic. And so do you guys have any plans for collaborations with popular artists in the NFT space or in the genre in general?
So what I'll say there is, you know, it's not something that it's certainly something that we have discussed, I should say, but right now what we want to do for our first core set is we want to make sure that we lock down exactly the way that we see the game in a very cohesive way. So it's clear to our user base, this is what we envision. And once our sort of, you know, once the foundation is there, you know, we can maybe open the door to more creative, more interesting art that is a little bit off the path of what we've started with. But I think it's very important that for the first impression, it's very clear this is the art direction that we want for our core game. And then once that's established, I think we can blow the doors off and be like, hey, what other crazy people are willing to get involved here? Because I know that our art team knows a lot of crazy artists who would be happy to do some wild stuff.
Yeah, like you've opened Pandora's box here, because art in Magic is actually my biggest interest in Magic the Gathering. It's 100, well, not 100%, but it's definitely the main reason why I love the game so much and have for a very long time. I'm a big fan of art in many forms. And yeah, I mean, look at Magic, right? It goes exactly what Koji was saying. It's base identity. So if you go all the way back to the alpha set, and you know, those first few sets, the amount of artists is like a list like this, right? And as time goes on, and as we explore different dimensions of Magic, and we explore different worlds, you know, settings, etc., it's like a tree. It grows outwards. More and more artists join each time, and it sort of broadens the perspective that you can get on Magic as a game. And I think this is something where I entirely don't mind citing Magic as like in my mind is one of the perfect ways to do this, because it means that you get that very solid core identity, that very solid aesthetic, that what is parallel, right? What does it look like? What does an organ core look like? What does a member of the shroud look like? You get that not really locked in, and then creative freedom happens and you get all sorts of different interpretations, but it all stems from that sort of original vision at the bottom. So yeah, as Koji says, I imagine it's something that in time is definitely something we'll talk about. But for now, I mean, you say about out there art, we already have Oscar M, who is some of his creations are pretty abstract. They're awesome. So yeah, we're very lucky to be starting out with a bunch of crazy art already. But yeah.
Certainly, yeah, for sure. I would be remiss if I didn't nip this in the bud, because I'm seeing so many questions about it in chat. What is going on today, and how do people get the drop? Because everyone's jonesing to know, how do I get my cards?
What is going on today? Well, for anyone who doesn't know, we are releasing our first pack drop today. We had a sale early on that was some individual cards, but this is our first release of blind packs, essentially. It happens at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And for those in the know, follow our Twitter and join our Discord, because the link will be shared, I believe, almost simultaneously, but perhaps on Twitter first and then immediately after Discord at 5 p.m. Eastern, where you can go. You can click on it and start buying packs. But I will also say that you need a MetaMask wallet with some Ethereum in it. And you need to have registered at parallel.life. That's our website. Make
sure you're logged in on the website when it goes live.
Okay.
Because, a lot of people might try to log in at that point, and, it might get a little spicy. But just make sure you're logged in on the website. And,
yeah, just one last step.
Yeah, for anyone in my part of the world, that's at 10 p.m. Is when the packs go live at BST.
BST? Okay. Perfect. Awesome. I got my account all set up. I've had it set up, I guess. I didn't get it on the last round, but speaking of that, what was it? A Genesis key? Is that what they're called?
Prime key?
The Prime key sold for 5 ETH today, huh?
Yeah, they've been selling up there all day.
Really?
They're going crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is totally wild. So for anyone who doesn't really follow what we've done up to this point, essentially we had a sale of the pre-sale of 15 cards in the deck, and anyone who participated in that pre-sale got both a SE version of that card, which is a special edition, and of those 15 cards, the special editions were limited to the amount of original cards sold. So as an example, let's just say the original card was an edition size of 10,000, but only 30 of them sold. Then there are only now and will ever be, of those 15, 30 SE cards in existence.
Yeah.
But they also got, as part of their purchase, a Prime key, whose if you want to know what it does and it's possible future, there's facts on the Discord and whatever. But they've been selling like hotcakes the last couple of days, and it's like on the meteoric rise.
Doubled in the past like 4 or 5 days. Like
that's crazy.
More than doubled, yeah.
Yeah, more probably, yeah.
Like almost 5x, because like it was a couple of days ago someone bought one for less than one.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
They're crazy.
That's,
but
I mean,
just on the
that's
topic
wild.
of packs as well. Someone in chat said, how hard will it be to get the premium packs? I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they will be pretty hotly contested.
Okay.
If you don't manage to get the packs that you're looking for, there will be pack drops quarterly leading up to the game actually being playable. And yeah, there will be other opportunities to get packs. So this is not the only chance if you miss out this time. So please don't yell at us if you don't get it.
I'm going to be trying for sure, because the Masterpiece cards, not only do they look awesome, they're like full art, but they give you a percentage of all secondary sales moving forward on that card type.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yield cards. Yep.
That's
1% of
insane.
the royalties.
That's so cool.
Again, for anyone who doesn't know, every card has whether it be an SE or a standard card or what have you, there's a version of that card that is a one-of-one masterpiece. So the art will match that given card. And if you own that masterpiece on a quarterly basis, you'll get a percentage of the secondary market sales.
That's awesome.
And those are available in these packs today. So
is that written?
There's a bunch of them in there.
yeah, good luck.
Is that written in the contract, or is that something you guys need to do on your back end?
It's something we're doing on the back end for now. We're looking at getting it written into the contract, but at the time of this interview, I suppose, I don't think OpenSea supports our ability to do that just yet. So
Gotcha. That's one thing I've been running up against talking to other artists and people working on these projects that require custom smart contracts is there's so many ideas, and everyone's just at some point it's just like, we want to do this, but it's not we can't write it in. So it either needs to be a lot of legwork for us to make this cool idea happen, or we need to wait till there's a little bit more support. But
yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of times creativity outpaces, technology, and that's where you get innovation. So I suspect that eventually all of this stuff will be possible if it works out well, So not that I'm saying that we're like trailblazers or anything, but, we're trying to do something new. And if it's successful, I'm sure that somebody will help us build it into, our infrastructure in the future.
For sure.
Or maybe we'll just do it ourselves.
Perfect. I'll say it. Everything that I'm seeing and everything that we're talking about does seem trailblazer-ish to me. If you don't, if you don't want to claim the crown yourself, I'll put it on you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just because it's like one of the things that, again, I think, and this isn't just like a crypto thing. This comes with any field where, like, huge strides in innovation are being taken. There's a lot of people who come at it in a less than sincere manner sometimes. When something is the forefront, you get a lot of projects, you get a lot of things there that maybe they're never quite going to come to fruition. Maybe they're reaching kind of outside of their means or whatever. I'm sure you know the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of like one thing that's hard to convey. Maybe it isn't hard to convey, but one thing that we always focus on conveying is just how, like, sincere a project this is. Like, we're completely dedicated to, like, delivering an awesome game and an awesome universe and doing everything we can to really innovate in those areas. So yeah, it's a hard thing to kind of appoint yourself as a trailblazer, but because I just find sometimes that implies, like, oh, maybe they won't actually really try to do this, but no, it's like, yeah, we're really trying to do this. Like, it's a real thing.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it we have to give a lot of love to at Kalos in Discord, because he's really the guy who, if you ever watch like a heist movie and they're like, okay, we need the safe cracker and we need the this and we need the that, like, and there's like a montage of getting the team together, like that's essentially what he did, right?
And
he was Jason Statham.
Yeah, and he really, to his credit, I mean, I've known him for a very long time, but to his credit, he put a team together that it's not like we're a bunch of crypto natives who are like, let's make a game, or a bunch of game designers who are like, let's leverage this NFT thing to do wild stuff. He was just like, okay, I know people who are amazing artists. They know nothing about the technology, but let's get them in. Okay, I know a bunch of guys who are really gung-ho on making games. Let's get them in. I know a bunch of people who are blockchain experts. Let's get these guys in. And it really was just a bunch of people working in a bunch of different areas that he mashed together. And he was like, okay, now that I've got you guys all in one room, like, let's I don't know, like, let's steal cars and go to the moon or whatever. Whatever F9 is about.
One of the things that Kalos says that he said this in a call we were on the other day, I absolutely love, is that Parallel works so well because everybody working on it is doing what they love. Like Koji says, I unabashedly, I'm a games guy. Like, I like designing games. I like talking about games design. I like, mechanical design. Then we have people, who are like blockchain wizards, and like that's their thing that they love, and we're all coming together and working on something collaboratively. So yeah, it's not a bunch of crypto people choosing to make a game. Like Koji says, it's not a bunch of game people choosing to leverage crypto. It's everybody working on what they love coming together. and educating each other, which is one of the best things. Like we learn a lot from each other, I think, every day on the project. So
Yeah.
Totally.
It's super interesting.
And I love coming up with half-baked ideas and then saying, "Hey, merchant, figure this out."
It's so funny because that is genuinely our work process.
Yeah.
What's the best idea that's on the cutting room floor right now?
Oh man.
There's a lot of spicy cards that are on the cutting room floor.
Okay.
And I don't want to go too into them because
Sure.
a lot of them are going to get refactored to be, part of whatever the first expansion style thing we do is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's essentially how I got involved. Is Koji and our mutual friend Carson, who's the third designer, had kind of sketched out the basis for the game. They basically took a shot at designing like a base set, and a lot of it was not safe for this world, I think, is the explanation. So yeah, there's a lot of very, very spicy things in there that will probably be getting refactored into the game in the future at some point.
Mm.
And
sure.
but like realistically, what they did starting from a blank spreadsheet was pretty awesome. So, and
Nice.
that's what's been hammered and reheated in the forge 100 times by now to become the basis of Parallel, which is
The
exciting.
finely honed, polished parallel machine.
Oh, we'll get there after the beta. We're just I'm okay with like a lump of metal on a stick at this point.
That's fair. You can still bash someone over the head with it, right? And that's what matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's functional, and that's what matters.
Oh, that's great. As far as mechanics go, how much have you guys announced? How much have you guys teased about that?
It's kind of all over the place. Like we speak about it every now and again. Formally, very little. I think people know what rug pull does. Formally, might be the only card.
Okay.
So, not that much. But I mean, yeah, we're kind of slowly opening up over time. Now we're getting a little bit more comfortable with our base set.
Mm.
We're opening up over time to talking about specific mechanics.
Gotcha.
Which is a very soft pitch for any questions you might have.
Yeah.
I would, yeah, that's the reason I asked. Is that I would love to know more about what you guys have going as far as the gameplay goes. So obviously, you've nailed the card art, you've nailed the mechanics behind collecting the cards and what they do for collectors. But as far as playing the game, I'd love to know more about the factions or about any interesting mechanics outside of the mana. Whatever you guys have to share, I'd love to hear it.
Oh man, that's pretty broad.
That's a
question.
broad
It's a very
question,
broad
yeah.
question, but are you guys gonna have a planeswalker-like mechanic in your game? Are there gonna be like heroes?
So
We can talk about this part of it, yeah, for
we
sure.
talk about Paragons. Yeah, Paragons
Yeah.
are super cool to talk about. So Planeswalker, no, not precisely, but in terms of that level of like character development and presenting strong characters in the game, yes.
Okay.
However, how we're doing that is by a system called the Paragon System. Now, because we're talking in a design-oriented fashion, I don't mind talking about influences. The Paragon System was inspired by two brilliant systems from other games, and then we kind of made our own evolution of it, kind of try to push it forward as we're doing with a lot of stuff in parallel. So if you're familiar with like Magic Commander, or you've ever played Gwent, you might kind of recognize what we're going for with the Paragon System. So Paragons are kind of like the subclasses of each parallel. Each parallel has 3, and when you're creating a deck, the first choice that you'll make in creating that deck is who your Paragon is. Now, each parallel has 3 Paragons. You do not have to open these in packs. You will be unlocking these as an relatively early part of the onboarding process, kind of like tutorial, kind of like your first game sort of stuff. But each parallel will unlock you the 3 Paragons, so they're not paywalled or anything like that. You don't even have to get any packs or grind at all to play with them. And what these are is these are characters who have 2 parts. Now, one of them is a passive part. So this passive is a permanent modification to how your deck plays. It doesn't matter if your Paragon hasn't been played yet or they've been played and killed. This passive is always active. It is a deck passive, and this is things like so I can share, for instance, Markolian have a Paragon called Catherine Lapointe, the Mad General, and her passive is that the second unit you play each turn gets +1/+1. So the idea there is you play a lot of small aggressive units and you're playing units down, and the second one you play each turn gets buffed because you've chosen Catherine as your Paragon. and she is giving you that deck passive. Now, the other part is that Paragons can be played as soon as you have the energy to do so, or whenever you want, as long as you can pay the energy cost. And they are essentially a card. They're like a functional card. So it exists outside of your hand. You do not have to draw it from your deck, etc. And you can play it once you have the energy cost to do so. And they have some pretty crazy effects on the board. They tend to be very... We're basically designing all of the Paragons with the idea like the Paragon should be one of the most exciting plays you make in a game of Parallel. Like when to play your Paragon is such a key decision. There are some where it's like you're going to play your Paragon and win the game if you manage to do it. Then there's some where it's like very modal. It's like, when do I play my Paragon? You know, it's a real like tempo spike that you got to choose when to do. So yes, that's really the core system of parallel deck building is the Paragon system.
It's also important to note that that information is exposed to your opponent too, so they can maybe plan ahead for when you drop or attempt to drop that hammer. So there's a lot of sort of back and forth. Both Connor and I are no strangers to things like poker, and so we like to incorporate as many little mind games into what we build as possible, because we want players to try and outthink each other.
Because there will be some Paragons where you pick that Paragon, you're saying to your opponent, "This is how I'm going to kill you."
Right.
Yeah, there's some very, very exciting ones.
They have the hammer.
So,
and
all
so,
about preparing and all about again player agency. It's a huge form of that.
Yeah. So that leads me to, so they'll know what Paragon you have at the beginning, like during like the loading screen or whatever. It'll be like your deck archetype or whatever.
I would imagine that we not so much deck archetype, but your Paragon choice.
Yeah.
I would imagine that we will visually display as part of the matchup graphic in some point. Yes.
Interesting.
That's way down the line.
Sure.
That stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. And man, there's so many ways to go from that, because that's always the best part. At least in my opinion, that's my favorite part of playing card games. I was always a big green Magic player because I wanted to drop dinosaurs on people, right?
Yep.
So
I mean, there's definitely, if you like big creatures that do some crazy stuff, some of the units in Parallel are probably going to be to your liking. I spoke about this on the community call we had the other day, but I'll restate it because I think it's such an important thing. One of the core tenets of our design process is make things fun and then make them balanced. Like if you try to make things balanced from the beginning, what you would end up doing is creating a clone of Hearthstone, because what you'd subconsciously be doing is you would be picking proven designs that are safe and they're boring. Not because they're bad, but because they're just something that you've seen 1,000 times before. And I'm not saying every unit in Parallel is going to be insane. Of course, there are some that serve very functional purposes. There are many that just serve answers to a question when you're building a deck. But we start out making things fun. Like I will say this to Koji, I'll say this to Carson whenever they submit cards. You know, I'll just be like, make it stronger. Just lower the cost, buff the effect, whatever. Make it crazy. We can make it balanced later on. Like, my favorite days are the days that I get messages from Connor and he's just like, look at this card, you can meme this one. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to read what it does. Yeah, there's some pretty spicy cards in there. But I just live by the ethos that it is so much easier to make something really interesting acceptable than it is to make something acceptable interesting. So that's the way that we're designing.
That's a great philosophy. Man, the more I talk to you guys, the more excited I get. I hope everyone else in chat feels the same way, because my favorite games are Dota and Twilight Imperium is like my favorite board game, where both of these are just a bunch of unique characters that are completely busted in their own way. And then they're put in a soup and there's some sort of balance that comes out on the back end. I don't know how. I'm so glad you say that, because do you know one of the main games that is one of my favorite games of all time and one of my most played that in really kind of begun building this ethos of make things interesting first to me is Dota. I'm a huge Dota fan. It's like the best game of all time in my opinion. It can make a very, very strong claim for it. Yes. I'm also a StarCraft boy, so to me, StarCraft will always be difficult to beat. But that'll be up there. Yeah, Dota can make a very good claim for that. I
I don't even want to know how much time I have played in Dota. Thousands and thousands of hours.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. Same. Oh, we'll move on from that to save our reputations, but
We're now a Dota podcast. Sorry. Everyone.
yeah. All right, guys. Switching modes here. Let's talk about Dota. Yeah, but the design philosophy in those games sounds
if
very
you don't
similar.
Mind, there's actually a really good question in the chat that I think is a good one to answer.
Let's do it. Let's rock it. What's it?
Yeah,
What do you got?
So Craney said, he said, can you discuss how you would balance after a card is released? I think this is a really important thing to address.
Yeah.
We're not minting stats or abilities on cards, so those are always adjustable by us.
Oh.
Now, I will say that we will do everything we can as a team to buff other things and make like more stuff playable before we tear down a certain card or an archetype. But there will be, being realistic, especially early on, there will be times we have to adjust cards and weaken their power level, and that is something that we're just going to do. We have to do it for game health. If we didn't do it, I mean, anyone here who's played card games, you know, I'm sure you've played in a stale meta. If we could never fix that, it would just be an awful thing to deal with. So yeah, we're not going to mint stats or abilities on cards, and they are subject to change in the game. But like I say, we will do everything we can first to buff other cards and make more stuff playable before we nerf anything. But we will have to at some point. I'm not going to deny that.
That's a great question. Yeah, I'm glad you picked that one out, because that's why the cards have the name and the QR code and the art and no stats on them just yet. It's because they'll be down the line. They'll be connected to either the game will show the stats or the metadata will point somewhere where the stats are shown.
Yeah, so each card currently is minted with the art and a little bit of flavor text, but the actual in-game functions won't be available until later for exactly that purpose. Because I mean, I think I was just about to call you Carson. Connor.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, Connor. summed it up
Sea-Dog.
perfectly. Yeah, we need to be able to balance properly, or else we're gonna get stuck. And especially in a world where NFTs are ultra permanent, we could get really in trouble if we minted all of the abilities on the cards.
And like I say, I do want to reiterate, we are aiming for buffing over nerfing, but like I say, nerfs will, especially in the early days, they will have to happen. And we're not stupid. Like, will nerfing a card affect its secondary market value? Yes, absolutely. Not so much on like the much rarer versions of it, like SE and stuff. Still a bit though, especially in the short term. That is just an unfortunate consequence of card games. That happens in every single card game. Like, we're not gonna ban cards. I can promise you that much. It's not gonna be like Magic where you spend 240 euros on a playset of Okos and then they get banned 2 weeks later, which happened to one of my friends. Which
Yeah, that's tough.
But, yeah. But yes, I mean, it will make an impact. We're not going to deny that, but we do not directly control the secondary market. At the end of the day, we'll support it, we'll utilize it, but we are not the masters of it for good reason. That's why decentralization is awesome. And yeah, it will impact it, but like I said, we're going to do everything we can to avoid doing it in the first place.
This might be a little bit off topic or pie in the sky, but speaking of of collecting and all these things and their analogs to physical card collecting really made me think of grading and the ability to pull even within the same card type and rarity, a different caliber of card. Is that anything that you guys are messing around with or thinking about?
So I have a very I guess gut reaction to that question, which is the problem that, so your idea is like so just to make sure we're on the same page, you could open say you open a base legendary, right? But mine is a PSA 10, yours is a PSA 8.5, something like that is what you're talking about.
I don't know if I have anywhere that I'm going with this, but it just popped into my mind as something interesting.
My only concern with that is that as much as that is rewarding to the player who opens the PSA 10, it feels terrible to the player who opens the PSA 4.
Sure.
Right? I think keeping things like that as just upgrades, like opening a perfect loop card, like one of our animated cards, or, opening a card slot that should be an uncommon and you open a legendary, like we can keep that movement in wholly positive terms without being punitive to the people on the other end of the scale. So,
Yeah,
I think it's
we're
I think it's a
also-
cool idea, but I think it actually has some problems in practicality.
Sure.
We're also investigating other avenues for, I guess, card progression. So there's been mention of the Forge before. So you may be able to use some Prime tokens and throw in a card and get a different version of that card. We're also working with Async to potentially provide us with some additional versions of cards that say can key on certain aspects of metadata. Let's imagine that this given card, this particular card that you've pulled, has won 1,000 matches. Maybe the art on it changes after the 1,000th match, but the only way to get it there is to actually win 1,000 matches.
Koji's going there with the real spicy
That's
stuff.
so
Yes,
cool.
That is something that we're looking into doing.
That's
We're
so
discussing
cool.
it. We're discussing it.
Yeah,
I
we're looking into
we're not
doing it,
making any
and
promises.
We would
Sure.
love to do it as well.
Yeah.
And
So you
there's
heard it
many
here
cool things
first.
you can do with that.
It's-
Like imagine if you know, like I don't know, 18 months down the line, right? We're on here again, right? We're on Boiz Chat again,
Sure.
and we say to people like, "Hey, in the chat, send us your cards. We'll sign them and send them back." We could literally like modify your card to have like a developer signature on it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like there's a bunch of cool stuff that you can do with that. That's actually in Dota, right? You can get like items that are signed by pro players, I think.
Yeah, I've got like a puck tail signed from someone in the international, and yeah, like they just
Nice.
like update your thing or whatever.
Yeah, we can do stuff like that, but we can like do it in, you know, it's not definitive once it's created. Like that item was created as a signed item, but we can do things that, yeah, they change certain number of wins. They change if you, I don't know, say you reach the, I was about to accidentally spoil something awesome that we're working on. Say you reach a very high rank in the game. You know, it could modify if you won the game that got you there with that card. There's so much stuff we can do with it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, really, really exciting.
And Async is awesome. Those guys are great, and they're
Yeah,
doing
we already have some async cards, but yeah, not modifying in this way.
the stuff you can do with layers and pulling data from certain factors like amounts of matches won and stuff. That's such a cool idea. I love that you guys are digging into that a bit.
Yeah, the one of my favorite parts of working in games is just going over telemetry. So yeah, like data pulling like that is something I absolutely love. Again, way down the line though for that kind of stuff.
For sure. We're getting some more questions, and I wanted to know this as well. So for the drop tonight, how does the checkout process work? You guys mentioned that you can do 3 per pack type in your cart, and they're pre-minted and will be sent to lower gas fees. Can you guys speak on that a little bit more?
Okay. All I can say.
Okay.
Just gonna lean back and be like,
Yeah. I'll put some bushes behind you.
We are intentionally not going too crazy with insane amount of details because we don't really want we want to try and avoid botting and you know, people hammering the site as much as possible.
Good call.
But all I'll say is what we're initially going to do is open a reservation system, an off-chain reservation system. So you'll go to our website, you'll be able to reserve the number of packs that you want, assuming that there are enough when you get there. And once the reservation process is finished, then we'll go about the purchasing and processing and all that stuff.
Okay.
But it'll start with reservations.
Is reservation time sensitive?
What do you mean by that?
Will it be who can get there fastest to reserve their pack?
For sure, yeah. It's first come, first serve.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
We're not doing you know, like a random draw system or anything like that. It's just yeah, first come, first serve.
Okay.
So keep your eyes on our Twitter and Discord, and if you're not already there, get there.
Yeah, I dropped the links a little bit earlier, and I'll drop them again for you guys. I think the main thing to take away from this is that J Money is a bot and trying to gather as much information to scam the system as possible.
Yeah, we want to just make sure that it's as fair to as many people as it possibly can be, because the last thing, I mean, obviously from a business perspective, it would be beneficial to us if all this stuff sold out as quickly as possible. But what we really want as people is to get as many people involved in the collecting and playing process as we can. And so it's not, we don't want to see all of these packs go, like I'd rather half of them don't get sold and everyone get the packs they want than all of them get sold. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I don't want 10 people owning all the packs. I would rather like whatever, I don't know, 10,000 people own all the packs or whatever. Oh, it's also you can it's limited 3 of each pack type per person per 5 minutes. If that makes
3
sense.
of each pack type per person for 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's actually max on a single transaction.
okay.
Important to know
So if
as
I
well.
wanted to ball out right at the beginning, I could get 9 packs, 3 of each rarity.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then 5 minutes later, you could potentially, if there are any left,
Mhm.
you could potentially come back and order again.
Okay.
Yeah, just to speak on nerfing, by the way. Sorry, I just saw another really good question that I think is an important thing to address. Trader T1 just said, will people that will know about nerfing before a public announcement be allowed to play the game and or purchase or sell cards on secondary? So play the game, yeah, that's not a problem because you're going to be playing with the card in the same state as everyone else, so that's not a non-issue. But financially, the people who would know about that really will be the parallel team, and I would like to think that all of us are slightly too responsible to do anything like that. But I know that's an issue that has happened in other games, including ones that I've worked on in the past. And yeah, I mean, if something like that was, if I bought 1,000 recons and then were like, I'm buffing recons so it wins the game when you play it, and then sold them all, I think that would stand out as quite obvious to the rest of the team. But yes, it's something where we will be on the lookout for anything like that happening, but it should be a non-issue. Any playtest things that we do have internally, but honestly, once we're live, we'll be going off of player data and not exclusive groups, so don't worry about it.
Also important to note that we're not, and no one on the team is taking part in the sale today.
Oh yeah, none of us are buying packs. We have cards that we get like allocated as members of the team, but none of us are buying or opening packs. Just to, again, nobody would, but just to make you not worried that we're not sniping valuable packs somehow because they're pre-minted. Yeah, none of us are buying packs.
We just want to make sure that everyone can get as many as they possibly want.
Yeah.
That's a lie. I'd buy packs right now.
It makes sense. You guys...
just another we want to do as much as we can to just reinforce we're legit, be transparent, communicate openly, and we're not buying packs. So.
I love hearing that because that's exactly what you would love to hear from a team that cares about the game and cares about the future. It's like we want more people to get in. We want more people to have the cards and love them and play.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm on the exact same page as Koji. I mean, as you might guess, we do surprisingly work on the game together. But yeah, I'd rather 10,000 people got one pack than a few hundred got them all. And that's the awesome thing about the core packs. There's a lot of them. So hopefully, even if you guys, even if you're unlucky, you miss out on premium packs. Hopefully, as many people as possible who want some can at least get some core packs and get the parallel collection going.
Love it. Awesome. Well, I've got more questions, but real quick, I want to reset the room and also gauge you guys. I know it's less than an hour now until the drop, and Koji, you probably have some stuff to do. So I wanted to give you an out if you want to take it, or if you want to hang around and give more answers, chat a little bit more. Let me know.
I can give you about 10 more minutes, and then I gotta go.
Perfect.
But I'm happy to cram in as much. 10-minute warning.
Yeah, we can just turbo run some questions.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Hot seat, lightning round in chat. Drop your questions. And what I want to know is, can you give us a quick rundown on the 5 parallels? The parallels are the factions, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm so bad
Koji,
with names of things.
Take it away.
I'm a true artist.
Hold on. Rundown in what sense?
What is the theming of them? I know in Magic, blue is control, green is like big stuff, red is aggressive.
You're talking about mechanical theming.
Yeah, well, I mean, also like story-wise, I don't know how much lore you guys have going on with this as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's definitely plenty, and we're exploring avenues even outside the game as far as the lore is concerned to tell as much of the story as we can. Man, I don't know how to answer this concisely, honestly.
Well, I threw it to you.
Yeah,
I can go if you want. I can have a good shot.
Yeah, real quick, give me the overview of everything that the entire program's about.
Earthen are about tradition and defense, I would say, and avoiding conflict.
Okay.
Markolians are about aggression, expansionism, and military superiority, really. The organ core are about science and technology. They're about pushing the boundaries, I would say. And to be blunt, they also have giant mechs. The shroud are about corruption, power, and the unknown, kind of things we don't understand. And the Cathari are about cloning yourself so you can be 18 feet tall and smash people into tiny pieces.
That sounds like the one. That sounds like my jam.
Yeah, they're very distinct, and the artists, it goes right back to what we were saying at the beginning. The artists are just doing such an amazing job of bringing them all to life. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Nice. I love it. Here, it's Kobe says, will there be an even number of cards released across 5 parallels, or will you be focusing on just a couple of them first?
Oh, first? I actually don't know, because it's pure... If you mean in terms of revealing cards, it'll be almost random, because it's just the order the artists are working through them, and we have them ready for release. In terms of like what will be in the game, there's roughly an equal amount. I think the least a parallel has is 40, and the most a parallel has is 43. Okay. So yeah, very, very, very close. Pretty much the same for all effects and purposes.
What's dropping today?
Also worth noting, by the way, that there's a universal card pool. I don't know.
Oh, there is, yeah.
Oh, yeah. like a common.
Like a
every class can use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Like neutral cards, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And that's bigger than any parallel. There's like 70 of those.
What's dropping today? Is it a mix of all of those?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty even mix, I think, of all of them. Might
Awesome.
be like slightly more, or slightly less shroud, maybe. But it's very even. It's not targeted in any way to focus on a singular parallel.
Gotcha. Next up, we've got the Silver Fox reservation system. If you do max packs and a pack is sold out, will you get the other packs? A lot of people are wondering.
I don't think you can reserve if the packs have gone.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware.
I don't want to risk getting none, but don't want to buy multiple. Oh, I see.
Not the expert on this, of course. So.
Yeah,
sure.
How it will work. So essentially what will happen is it will try and process your request. If it, don't quote me on this, because I can't say with absolute certainty. I don't want to get in trouble or anyone to be mad at me, but I'm fairly certain what happens is if it can't process your request, you'll automatically be brought back to the sale page with a scaled down order. And then you can hit the button purchase again.
Okay. Nice. Sounds simple enough. Yeah, it sounds like you guys got a lot of demand. It's gonna be a fun time.
And I just want to say, everyone who does manage to get packs, which I hope will be all of you here.
Yeah.
Make sure you tag us on Twitter at Parallel NFT. We'd love to see what you're getting.
For sure. Let me drop your Twitter again, just to keep it out there.
Give us a follow. I think we're nearly at 10K as well. So
oh my God, give
us a follow, mate.
Get these guys over 10K.
Cheers. Yeah, we're like 200 away. Oh.
Almost there.
It's so crazy to me. The growth has been so insane over the last little while. Like, yeah, thanks everyone who's listening and everyone who's not listening, who's involved, because this started, I say this all the time, but it literally started as a 4 a.m. scribble in a notebook. Kalos on Discord was just like, hey, I need help building a game. Do you have any ideas? And I was like, yes, I do, when in fact I did not. And then either that night or the next night, the bank system kind of came to me, and I was like, is this a good idea? How has no one already done this? It seems so simple. And then I decided, yes, it was a good idea. And then here we are.
Dude,
yeah, and
that's so real.
For Koji and I, the game has continued as a lot of 4 a.m. scribbles, except it's on Jira now.
Yeah.
So...
yeah. We both write everything out in notebooks first.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know why. It's not. We didn't decide that together. We
just both found out that we're both like chaotic note takers, and then we put stuff in. So
it's just better that way. And hearing you say that it just came to you, and every one of the best ideas, the Genesis story is always someone thinking of it and being like, why is no one else doing this? Like, someone has to have done this before. And then and it's like, oh, no one did, and then they go do it, and it's huge, it's perfect. So I get the same feeling when I hear, and I think that's why you guys are growing so quickly. As soon as people hear about what you're doing, find out about the mechanics, the love you're putting behind it, see the art, it's kind of a no-brainer, honestly. So I'm excited to see where you guys go.
Me too. Yeah, no, the whole journey thus far has been exciting, and it continues to be pretty amazing. So I'm excited to see what happens next.
Perfect. All right,
yeah.
guys. Well, let's wrap it up there. Let's do one final plug. If you guys have anything succinct you want to say at the end, and let's get you off to dropping these packs.
Oh god, just make sure you're logged in. Make sure you got your MetaMask connected with some ETH in it. And Godspeed, I think, is the main one
Yeah,
on the pack
yeah.
drop.
Godspeed, everyone.
That's as much to us as everyone. Yeah, it should be awesome.
Also, I feel like I'd be remiss to say I'm not super well versed in the crypto world. You know, both Connor and I are more on the game side of things, just in life in general. But everyone, be responsible with your Ethereum.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I hear people, the idea of you know, people are like, I'm loading up hundreds of ETH into my wallet, and I'm just like, I don't even know how someone could have that much.
Yeah.
So just, you know, just spend responsibly, but spend responsibly on parallel cards.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
fair.
much.
All right,
Yeah,
guys.
just good luck to everyone, really, because those premium packs are going to be at a premium.
I'm trying so hard. I'll be right there with everyone trying to snatch up what I can. So
Oh, I should also say that if anyone pulls the Tree of Nehemiah masterpiece at Kalos or Kalos on Discord, has put a bounty on it. So
Yeah.
really,
let us know. He
And
wants
if
it.
anybody opens a Solea concept art card, I might trade you for it. So get in touch.
there you go.
There-
Yeah,
see?
it's see,
we
that's how
want them as
genuine
bad as you do.
we don't get to buy packs. Like, please trade with us.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
We're all
guys.
just as excited for it as you guys are. Just final note, I guess. I know some people will be frustrated if you don't manage to get the packs you want. Please remember, everyone on the parallel team is a real human, except Koji, who is a very strange animated doll of a sort. But even him, please just be nice to everyone if you don't get the packs you want, because I'm
Yeah.
sure there'll be some frustrated people.
Sure.
I'll be a real boy one day. Don't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Um,
And if you bully
Yeah,
me on Twitter, I'll bully you back. So
There you go.
yeah, that's it. And there'll be more drops. There'll be more drops for sure.
oh yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. And we'd love to have you on for the next one. This has been a blast. I've loved talking to you guys, and I think what you're doing here is awesome. So anytime you want to come back on, just let me know.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having us. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, good luck everyone.
no problem.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.